And 5, 4, 3.
Welcome, everyone, and pull up a seat at the table. It's Lunchtime in Rome. Tonight's episode 247 is entitled Minimizing. Is someone in your life always insisting that everything is just not a big deal, even when it's a really big deal? Are they someone who really rarely shows emotion except to be frustrated with your emotion? Are you that person? We'll be talking about minimizing at the table this evening, so please do pull up a seat and join us. First-time listeners can subscribe on your favorite podcast app or watch us live or later at youtube.com/lunchtime in Rome. Make sure to visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com, and while there, you can take our relational needs questionnaire. And make sure to follow us on all social media. It would be wonderful if you gave us a 5-star review, and we want to know what this is about. Jay, what's this podcast all about?
Being alone is the worst. Good times aren't as good, and bad times are worse when you're all alone. Romans 12:15 says to rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. That is how you keep people from being alone and what this podcast is all about. We demonstrate that in the first 15 minutes of the podcast, but we talk about it for the rest. So while it may not be 12:15 in Rome, we're treating it like it is lunchtime in Rome. Chris is back hitting it hard.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, and then I'm out again next week because I'm traveling.
Traveling man.
It's a busy start to the summer for me.
Summer. It's here.
It's here. I count Memorial Day. That's the unofficial, but for me official start of summer.
Start wearing the white slacks.
That's carry a white purse.
And
I could
shoes.
do all the things I want. Yeah. Tomorrow officially is my final work day of the school year. So that is very exciting.
Does it feel like it goes fast or amazingly slow or both?
What?
The school year.
It's like in spurts, like it just in phases. It definitely slows down toward the end. Like, I mean, when there's 100 days left, it's like, wow, can you imagine if there were only like 25 days left? That sounds amazing. But when there's 25 days left, it feels like there's 25.
Feels like there's 100 days left.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because I think like every year when it's over, you're like, wow, we are already here.
Yeah.
But like I coached golf this fall.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you did.
That feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, it does. That does feel a long time ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm definitely crawling to the end of this one. Not that, I mean, it hasn't been a bad school year. It's just there's been a lot of changes and a lot of uncertainty, or just like extra mental energy, I think is what it mostly is. It's like when things aren't settled, like we're in the midst of changing principles, and we have been for like half a school year. So it's just like different people in the building, different.
You went through contract talks this year.
That also feels like a lifetime ago. Yeah, that was.
And an eclipse?
Yeah, that was huge for a day, and yeah. So I'm a little tired. And then whirlwind, we're turning right around. Amy and I'll be hopefully reporting back on this in a couple weeks, but we are heading to Atlanta.
Only 7 hours away.
Well, the Atlanta I'm going to, yeah, it's like 7.5. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, we're driving to Chattanooga tomorrow afternoon/evening, getting there, I don't know how late, but and then Friday morning we're starting our sessions at the Relational Center for Relational Care.
There it is.
And which is what we do here. That's what Jay, where Jay was trained, and so I'm excited that we found a Groupon or something, and so we're like
What's your start time Monday or Friday morning?
10.
Oh, okay.
And our first hotel is like an hour and a half away. So leave at 8, whatever.
Well, you school teachers are used to getting up and moving.
Well, yeah,
around.
I'm not in my summer schedule yet, so that's easy.
Right.
No big deal.
I'm so excited for you guys. It's ridiculous. I mean, just for the whole experience, the 2-day, the 4-day, the whole experience, being around other people, being able to be used. I mean, you're going there for you. You're taking your marriage from good to great.
Right.
And that's awesome. And there'll be people there that are they were like, well, should we get divorced or should we come here? Mm-hmm. And so that God will use you. And that's not even on your purview. That's not even, you haven't even thought about that.
Now I am. Yeah. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Those are some of the most impactful things I would just say things in the different sessions when we were in the group sessions, and people would just be like, I have never realized that before. And I was like, ooh, I'm hot. Like, it was just, and the things that they, like different people said to me, and that certainly the people said to Rachel, and I've told the stories before, you get to experience that in the next week.
Yeah.
And you joked last night, Jay, you were like, Chris is going to come back and tell me everything I know is wrong. But I am interested to hear your perspective when you do come back.
Yeah.
You know, because we've learned so much from Jay and Rachel, you know, to some degree from their experiences, but that, you know, you guys were all over 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
We went together for what Chris and Amy are doing, kind of, in 2008, and then I went down for a weekend in 2009.
Yeah, so it's been a minute since.
Yeah, it could be all different now. Like I said, he may come back and be like, actually, facts, logic, and reason are what they were supposed to do.
Talk about that the whole time.
Swallow your emotions. It's all they said the whole time we were there. Oh, look at Crybaby Davidson over there.
They never said anything about games couples play with each other.
No.
Nothing. In fact, they don't even talk about comfort.
Yeah.
I am excited to
The
like
Bible
go down
doesn't
there.
have Romans 12:15 in it.
I'm excited to go down there and like, yeah, have some knowledge, like at the forefront. You know what I mean? Like, I've got some experience with this, obviously, and yeah, and we're excited to like go from good to great. That's what we're going down there for. Is like, there's nothing wrong per se, but it's an opportunity that we've thought about for a while. And Amy especially has sort of like kept an eye on it, and she was like looking at, because there's, you know, the Texas location that Jay went to, and we're going to Atlanta. Which is newer, I think. I think it started in Texas, right?
Yeah, it started in Texas. It got into Atlanta. They started working with a company there in like early 2000s.
Oh, okay. So it's been a while.
Maybe even mid 2005 or so.
Yeah. And literally, I mean, no, we didn't find a Groupon, but price, I mean, it is not a cheap thing to do, right? I mean, because it's basically, it's almost a week. It's 6 days, and it's at least 4 of the days are like all inclusive when you're staying at their retreat, and like it's housing, it's food, it's all of the teaching, and you know, everything. So it is pretty pricey, but they had like this summer special. So anybody out there that's like, oh, maybe I want to look into that, like wait for a deal. Like we were really happy when we saw the price. It was like 50% off of their price. Like,
no, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, or close to it. I don't know, 40, 45, I don't know. Between 40 and 50%, it seems like.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, 220, 221.
Yeah.
And we're beyond excited.
Yeah.
So
We've had a busy week. Maggie's had a lot of birthdays.
What is she, 30 now?
A lot of birthdays to attend. Yeah, it's just an interesting season of our lives, you know. And you know, when you're at preschool, you know, you have to invite all the other kids so nobody's left out.
sure.
That kind of thing.
That's a thing.
But we had one. There's a family that we know that's going through a tough time, and like Jay always says, you never know what you're saying I do too. So there I am cooking hamburgers and hot dogs on somebody else's grill, you know.
That'd be a great euphemism.
And
fixing
It'd be-
a diving board.
and putting on a new diving
be-
board at their pool, you know, just
It'd be a good merch shirt.
like you do. And
Eric flipping burgers.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And we had a fun time yesterday. After it downpoured for 5 minutes, we went over to Brian's pool because it's open officially, and had a lovely time over there. And
It was like the worst weather window of the entire day.
yeah, it was like 85, and then it went down to like 71.
And just rained right over my pool.
Yeah.
What time?
30,
5:15
Yeah,
-ish.
somewhere around there. Yeah. But it's funny how, like, you know, last year Maggie was jumping in off the side of the pool and all that kind of stuff, and then it's kind of like starting over again at the beginning of this summer. Like she has more courage, but there's still that hesitation. So I'm still like, just jump in. Come on. I know you can do it. You did it last year. Come on. Like, what's the hold up here?
It's like she has to remember what she finished on.
And like, I threw her in the pool. Like, I mean, like, I was in the pool with her, but I picked her up and threw her, you know?
okay.
And like, she was going underwater when I was doing that. And
Last year. Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And I was like,
Where was I?
I think it was after you went to go get ready for worship practice. And I was like, you're going in harder and faster into the water than you would just jumping off the side. Like,
Did you explain that to her?
That's
trying-
logic
I
and
was
You got to
reason.
try to, yeah.
I was trying
You
to
told
give
her it's
facts.
not that big of a deal.
It's not that big of it's not that big of a deal. I was minimizing the whole time, but I don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
That would have been a really good segue.
That would have been. I should have saved it. Shucks. But yeah, we just been busy, and but I mean it's good. Summer's here. I'm glad. I'm glad Brian's pool's open because it's awesome just to come over there after a day of work, you know, and Maggie can swim around in her floaty, and we don't have to be hands on for 3 hours trying to figure out what to do.
How early in the spring was she asking if Uncle Brian's pool is open?
October.
I was gonna say, yeah. I was gonna say right around after Christmas.
Yeah.
She's been asking for a minute, that's for sure. She's, when those hot days, those early hot, where
Right.
classic Pittsburgh weather, where we get a hot day in April, and she's like, "Is Uncle Brian's pool open?"
You would like to think so.
Yeah.
I love updates like that. We say rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn. And it's like, in those, it's like, shrug with those who shrug. It's like, things are okay.
Things are okay.
Not great,
Yeah.
not bad.
Yep.
So for me, Saturday, Mia, my niece, came over and filmed some of my promotional reels for the podcast. And it was hilarious, just sort of like, I'm not a big Murphy's Law guy or anything like that, but we have neighbors behind us. So our backyard, then like an easement, and then their backyard. They're never there. They're never outside. They don't do anything ever. They bought a pool and were filling it up like a permanent portable pool, like a 3-foot high pool.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we're on my deck. It's gorgeous. It's sunny. The deck is perfect. And me is scouting out the perfect locations. And we're just making 30-second videos. We're trying to make 5 30-second videos. And of course, they're screaming, they're squirting each other. So we'd have to stop. And then like a car goes down long road that has a big muffler. Stop. Plane goes by overhead. Stop. Bird screaming every time I start talking. So like we do the one, I go change my t-shirt so it doesn't look weird. Go in the front. We're sitting on the front porch. Somebody drives by. Gerald's yelling at the dogs. And this one, we didn't like what I was saying. Like I kept screwing it up, and she was great. She was just, you said this at the beginning, so shouldn't you wrap it up at the end with this? And again, it's a 30-second video. There's not that much.
But you got to pack a lot in, though.
You do.
Yeah.
And then the one I perfectly nailed it, finally got, it's so funny. Oh, I wanted to say this. She goes, okay, I will say 3, 2, 1, action. And I was like, could you say 5, 4, 3? And then just
Do it
give me
like
this-
Eric does it.
Yeah. And so she did. But it's so funny because I'm staring right at her camera. We have it on a tripod or phone. And like, she would like slowly turn away because she didn't want me to focus on her.
distracted, right.
But then I would focus on the different ways she was having me not focus on her. Like sometimes she'd turn her back. Sometimes she'd just look at the ground. Sometimes she'd do this. So the one, I finally nail it. And with like the last sentence, this fly comes out of nowhere and dive bombs my eyeball. And I play it off so strong. I just, I'm looking to my right and it comes in and I just go off to my left. But then when we rewatch, and she's like, you nailed it. I was like, hold.
Yeah, let's see the
You
instant replay.
may be able to see. And the fly goes right at the camera afterwards. So he's like, so we had to reshoot.
That's because we're living in a simulation.
We are. And so then we ended up shooting the last 3 up in the old Penn Junior or Penn Hebron or now Municipal Field where I throw discs. So it only took
okay.
2.5 hours to do 5 30-second videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do the math. That adds up very crazily.
But she already edited them, and so we'll be releasing them.
That's awesome.
So is that what she's going to school
She's a
for?
film major at
Okay.
at Liberty
Nice.
University.
Yeah.
Where are things with the book?
We
update.
are. My content editor is done, and so now it goes on to my line editor. And she told me that her goal is to have them done by the first revisions done by the 14th. But she goes, I'd like to say sooner, but I want to be realistic.
Yeah.
And it's mostly grammar, word repetition, that kind of stuff.
Really meticulous.
Getting there.
Yeah.
And then she'll do a second revision of that. Then it goes to the final proofreader. We've been back and forth yesterday and today with the cover art designer. She sent me 3, and I was like, no, and no. And so then she was like, what about this? But my computer was downloading very slow. And so I was like, it wasn't working. It was being weird. And then last night, I'm like, oh, I really like this top of this one because like the light kind of came across. And so I copied and pasted and sent it to her. I downloaded it and I sent it to her. Well, it was only just a partial download and my computer had frozen. So I just sent her back what she had sent me that I didn't like. And she was like, I don't really understand what you're talking about. And I opened it up and I'm like, well, because that's not at all. And then, so we're just playing those games.
Yeah.
So what do you do about that? What's next? How do they capture the vision that you want, or like how do you get them to send you something that's in the ballpark? You know what
For
I
the
mean?
cover?
Yeah.
Well, we've been doing that. We talked in the beginning and then got close and she was like, what about this? Rough draft. Yep. Let's go with something like that. And then I got her the good picture. So now we're just basically doing like the picture of our family. Is it in black and white or color? Okay. We want color. Okay. What's the background?
So you're
look like?
circling the target.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that. And promoting the book, marketing the book, moving forward with that. And there we are. So now at this point, July, maybe.
Yeah.
That still all feels really
Yeah,
like
that's exciting.
It still
fast.
feels fast.
Like it's not.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not
Like I would
lagging.
think this
Yeah.
would take like a year.
Right.
You know.
And then once it's done, where will it be available?
Amazon and me.
Lunchtimeinrome.com.
Sure.
We could
But I
definitely
did
link to
find
it.
out the owner of the company, she checks in like every 3 weeks or so. And she said that originally we said it would be about 30,000 words, and now it's 44,000 words because we added the how to help them stand section, which will cost me more money. But, you know, that's a lot of words.
That is a lot of words.
It's like a full sermon.
If you need like for your like
Couple thousand? I appreciate
portrait.
that, Chris.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I was going to offer something else. If you need like for your portrait on the back cover, you know how they always have the author. If you need like a pipe to borrow just to pose with, I got you.
Smoking
I
jacket.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. You come alongside me like that.
That's right. That's right.
Brian-
Knowing exactly what Jay is all about,
Yeah.
right?
It's me, man.
I mean, all the times I've seen him
Maybe
smoke a pipe.
Timothy Alberino hat.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
His machete, his patented machete.
Sure.
How's Brian?
Pretty good. I got my BiPAP machine today, so
I thought you were going to say bypass.
Oh
No.
Okay,
like,
so
whoa.
not a CPAP, but a
it's a BiPAP, which it's a little
Goes on his mouth and his bum.
bit. Yeah, I get it from both sides.
He does not snore or toot.
Nope. Well,
my
I do, but it just comes back. And the BiPAP machine, the difference in that from a CPAP is CPAP's like a constant steady stream of air, whereas the BiPAP is a little bit more rhythmic, a little bit more adaptable to you as the user.
Is there a machine like
Yeah,
like a CPAP? Or,
Yeah, it's a little bit smaller. It's probably, I don't know, maybe 12 inches, maybe a little bit less than that. It's kind of compact.
yeah.
Is it? I know like CPAPs have been around forever and aren't necessarily like electronic. Like they just like you said, it's a constant thing. Does this one have like a
Yeah, it's
electronic like a microchip? Blah blah blah. It's sensing you and
It's pretty deluxe, and part of me doesn't like it because it is like tied into some database. So it's like, all right, now like somebody somewhere is going to know exactly how I sleep.
Somewhere in Switzerland, they're
Yes,
like, we can turn him off at any minute.
Yes, our plan is working. So, but no, it's pretty deluxe. It's got like a humidifier. So, you know, some of these don't have a humidifier. So like people's noses, you know, get
All
all
dry, yeah.
dried out. So I don't know. Tonight would be the first night.
Ooh, that's exciting.
I guess like I want to sleep. I'm exhausted, so like I also don't want this to be like an experiment night, but it probably will be. But I
Yeah.
got to do it at some point. You
Right,
know what I
right.
mean?
Maybe some getting used to it.
Yeah. So like it's got Bluetooth. It would, like I said, ties into some database somewhere. It has like different settings, so like it can ramp me up for like anywhere from like 1 to 45 minutes. You know, as I go to sleep. It's like kind of helping me help. You know what I mean? Like it's
not going to
helping
like
me.
turn you into a Stepford wife, is it?
I don't know.
Who can say?
I'm just whatever happens to me happens to me. But yeah, so that's an interesting development. I will be very curious to see how over the next month of usage,
You could have more
how I
energy
feel.
than ever before.
I could. That's kind of the goal.
Yeah, that'd be
and,
awesome.
and like sleep apnea, it's not healthy for you.
no.
It really is not good for your
No.
heart and stuff like that. So
No.
yeah. So anyways, that's like one of my big deals. Kids are done with school. They've been done for this week. Yeah, like you said last night, Jay, things are a little bit different when the kids are home. You know? Like little subtle differences, like I went to, I came down from the pool into the kitchen yesterday, and there's a big pool of water right in front of the freezer.
Oh, is that Lex?
No, yeah. Abby's sitting there at the table. I'm like, Abby, what's going on? And so she described to me what happened, and it had to do with an ice tray and Ethan and her. And I was like, oh, but neither one of you decided to clean it up? It's just water? And she's like, uh-huh.
That's right.
All right. Well, then I'll do it.
You left that for somebody else to clean up.
That's exactly what I told her.
Let me introduce you.
Show you somebody else. But speaking of somebody else, there's a couple somebody else's that also sit at the table with us. And I'd love to hear somebody tell them. Tell her to speak their names out loud.
Well, we've been celebrating those who join us at the head of the table.
The head of the table.
And we have a new head of the table, Bethany Jaworski.
She was new last week.
I wasn't here, so new to me.
Yeah.
New to me. And we always continue to celebrate and thank Mary Lynn and Ashley and Breaking 90. That's a bit. It's the head of the table is growing.
Yes, and please visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com, where you can become a paid subscriber and join them at the head of the table. We love it.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. It's very important to us, and we love it.
And if Mary Lynn or Bethany or Ashley or Breaking 90 would say, it's whatever. It's not a big deal.
Right.
What would they be guilty of?
You might call them minimizers or minimizing.
Minimizingers.
Minimizingers.
They're the worst. So, some of you listening, sitting here with us at the table, I have to apologize because I tricked you. Because on the Facebook promo, I said, if you love facts, logic, and reason, this episode is for you. Now, you might have thought I was saying that this is going to lift you up and just make you feel like you were right all along. When in reality,
We got him.
Not. It's not. Well, now, last episode, it was very much in facts, logic, and reasons. Well, not last episode, but the last one of these that we did 3 weeks ago at this point. But tonight it's more for you folks who say it's not that big of a deal. You don't get too high, you don't get too low, and you pride yourself on that. Now, we talked about magnifiers and how everything is the biggest deal in the world. Well, that's not right. Well, now we swing the opposite direction. Some things are a big deal.
Yeah.
But some people refuse to allow that to happen. And so those are minimizers. And this is just another in our series of destructive, for lack of a better term, communication patterns. But really, it's emotional patterns more than anything else. I mean, the outward expression is the communication. It's not a big deal. The reality is what's going on in your heart and with your emotions.
Okay. So these people actually are either feel or force themselves to believe it's not a big deal.
Well, let's take a look at what Brian has to say.
Well, my question is this an external thing? Like, it's not a big deal, Joe. Don't worry about it, Joe. It's not a big deal. Or is it you saying
to yourself,
it's really not a big deal?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It goes
absolutely.
both ways.
Well, very often it will.
Gotcha.
And because imagine, well, we'll get to that. So the simple description is significant events, they're just never dealt with. So you lost your job, whatever, it's no big deal. Hey, you won the lotto, whatever, I'm about to pay taxes on it. You're just rounding off everything.
Yeah.
Could it be the person who goes opposite, like, okay, you just won the lottery, and they're like, yeah, but they're gonna, like, you I guess you said they're, pay taxes, but they're coming at it from a direction of
negativity.
Yes.
Not as much negative as rounding everything off.
I was going to say not as like celebratory in that example of like the lottery, like being very, very excited, right?
Right. You're not very, very excited.
But you're not necessarily negative about it. You're just trying, like, it almost kind of ties into a lack of, like, when I hear that, like that particular example, I'm like, you don't think very highly of yourself, do you? Like,
sure.
When, like, if I win the lottery, I'm going to be like, yeah, that's pretty sweet. I'm not going to round that off. I'm going to embrace that.
I'm going to do lots of good things with this. It's going to be, it's a big deal. Well, you know what?
Is there a tie to self-condemnation?
Sure.
and probably people high on respect or low on respect.
I would argue probably low.
Well, that's what I mean. Like
Yeah.
if you're low on respect, especially respecting it's, you know what? I'd rather not talk about me winning the lottery. It's not a big deal.
I feel like I'm a minimizer.
Really?
With this, what we're talking about. But going into this,
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that with you.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if this describes any of us. And as we go through this tonight, I want to point out that if you've got a minimizer in your life, the best thing you can do is have them listen to this episode, because if you say to them, hey, you know what, you're a minimizer, they'll go, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, like, this is more for you if you're realizing it. If you're coming along and being like, oh, wow, that is me. Oh, I do that. Oh, I do have this impact on people around me. You know, with all of these destructive patterns, it's pretty hard to say to somebody, hey, this is what you are, better change. That ain't going to really work. But as we go through, think of the people in your life. Certainly think of yourself, like Eric's doing.
Yep.
And Chris said before the podcast. And Brian's like, this is definitely not me. And say, do I have these tendencies? So do you fit in any of these descriptions? That most, if not all, important events are denied or discounted. That the person tends to not feel or express emotions. So that he or she tends to expect or demand the same from others.
I feel some of this. Like it speaks to me.
Well,
And the demanding of others, like, because like part of me is like, you know, I kind of wish you didn't do that for yourself. Like, you know, celebrate your wins. You know, talk about your losses or your hurts, because either one, you know, like, I'm not saying it's super high or super low, but acknowledge.
But you're reverse engineering it.
Okay.
That what they're saying is the minimizer is telling somebody else, stop making such a big deal.
Right. Well, I'm saying, so like, if you are that person and you're doing that for yourself, like you do that within yourself. Okay. I still don't like it. But when you, as the minimizer, project that onto somebody else, that's where like it gets.
Well, that's the beginnings of the impact on other relationships.
Right.
Because the emotions make you uncomfortable. And so you're telling everybody, hey, calm down. It's not that big of a deal. Don't worry about it. Or be careful, because don't get too high, because the next thing you know, the other shoe's going to drop.
What's good is bad.
What's good is bad.
So you're forcing, or you're projecting your, the way that you deal with things onto other people.
Sure.
Right.
When you think about, what does a maximizer do? Or a magnifier, I should say.
Same thing.
Don't you understand? Don't you understand what a big deal
so
this is?
important. Oh,
And
my
you're like,
goodness.
it's not.
Yeah. Right.
No, I don't. I don't understand at all. Even during life's major events, little emotion is shown. The person denies that anything is wrong or that anything troubles them. I'm fine.
Do you think there's a common thread of how the people that do this are like how it shapes people?
What do you mean by that?
Well, so I feel like this is one of these things. It's a. I mean, everything we do is right? I mean, for the most part, a lot of what we do is a product of our trauma or our ability to heal our hurts, right?
Patterns
So
we've learned and or been established within us.
Right. So, do you? You're the one that kind of has the handle on what this is. Do you feel like there would be a common thread to mold
The
people,
background?
mold people into this?
Absolutely.
Great.
We'll get to that in just a minute.
Perfect.
Reasons to celebrate are either downplayed or mourning is avoided. So they don't rejoice.
Mourning is MOUR.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got about noon. Hey, I might be a minimizer.
I go to sleep in the dark and I wake up and it's noon.
Yeah, so they don't sell it. You know, they don't rejoice. They don't mourn.
Yeah.
Which makes it impossible to give them comfort because they're not experiencing the pain. They're avoiding the pain. Minimizers are often impatient with others who do show emotions. So not only they tell them not to, but they're impatient with them. You know, cut it out, stop it.
Yeah.
I can't handle it right now.
So that's definitely not you, Eric. Or
No,
Chris.
for sure. And I'm waiting to,
Yeah.
because I didn't read ahead on the outline, but like the things that I feel for me, like I get excited for other people. I think
Right.
more than I do for myself. And, you know, on the course of like my career in the past 8-9 years, like getting into the marketing agency, like I felt like, oh, well now like it's different. Like this is like something that I work to achieve, but I can't like celebrate it and I don't know if this is minimizing, but like
No, it's not, because you knew it was a big deal.
yeah, right.
So it scared you.
yeah, so it's
And
more like
and you don't feel worthy.
right. So it's more like self-condemnation or
You're a whole bunch of other problems, but you're not a minimizer. Lastly, minimizers rely a lot on facts, logic, and reason.
I will say, listening to that description, I still think that this fits me pretty well. I mean, I mean, you'd have to be the biggest of minimizer. Ooh, that's an oxymoron. The biggest of minimizers
And yet it's accurate. The greatest.
to meet all of these completely. But like
The maximum minimizer.
I do rely, or I prefer to rely a lot on facts, logic, and reason. I do feel like my gut reaction is to be impatient with others who show a lot of emotion. And I definitely, like, I don't want to, like, I never want to make a big deal about my birthday. I don't want to be the center of it. Maybe that's not the same thing. I don't know. But, like, I don't want the attention on me in that regard. I don't want to be people making a big deal about things that I do or even have accomplished. Like, it's fine. Like, you know, it's just what I do or whatever.
It's funny because I've heard a few times like it's fine, and my grandma used to say that all. I'm fine, you know, like when really like you should be feeling a lot either worse or better. You know, I'm fine.
Well, and
we
I
were
think-
gonna put it on our tombstone. That's what that's what the joke was. I'm fine.
That's really funny on a headstone. I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Which is funny two ways. Like on the one hand, you're dead, you're not fine. On the other hand, you're in heaven, you're not fine. You're great. But either way, no, I'm fine.
I'm fine.
But I do think we find this a lot with the more senior of citizens. And I would argue that they will, as we get into the background, they've had to be this way in a lot of ways. You know, if we think about the current Gen Alpha, most inappropriately named or misnamed generation,
It's true.
they're not minimizers. Gosh,
No.
they're magnifiers. And let's see why. So the tendency to minimize often comes, this is now into the background, from homes where personal needs were neglected or overlooked. So you think about senior citizens, like they were raised when mom and dad were, you know, dad was in the factory and mom was busy with 7 kids and
Here's a cigarette, kid. Go play.
Yeah.
Go play with the cigarette.
many were, quote unquote, trained or encouraged to deny their own needs, which promoted losing touch with their own feelings.
That makes a lot of sense.
In what regard?
Just like how living through life and going through, I mean, even like going back to like the Great Depression, World War II, you know, all these really, really tough times, and you're living through all those tough times where something that's small, like
I want to go to the park. Your brother Jimmy's at World War II. We're not going to the park.
right, it's not that big of a deal, you know, but you know, yeah, it is to a kid. So, but that makes perfect sense. You know, it's, you know, just like when 9/11 happened, you know, it really puts things in perspective of like what's really important. But like I could see somebody like in that moment, like minimizing, like, you know, 9/11 happens and then somebody's dog died, and it's like,
Right.
well, it's a big deal to them. You can't minimize that. But like 9/11 just happened. It was a pretty big deal, you know, like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I will say that on a more micro level, I feel, looking back, that I was quote unquote trained to have to deny my own needs or thoughts in middle school. Like, just there were a couple years there where I was either bullied or ignored or you know, I mean, shunned. I'm using strong words. I had some friends, but there were social moments where it was made known that
Right.
what I said or thought was not the right thing to say or think. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
but that's why we always treat you with as much respect and never make fun of you.
that's exactly. Listen, I've learned my place in life.
But in doing that, you're saying you were. So where did you go with that pain then?
I didn't talk to anybody.
Why not? Sorry for twice interrupting.
I don't know. Like, I can guess that I didn't feel like. I think maybe there was some embarrassment that it was happening, and also maybe just like, well, I I guess this is what I get. I don't know what I deserve or what, you know.
I
don't know.
guess this is what I get. This is what I deserve, huh? Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think like as we're talking about it like this, we're talking about elderly people that were raised in a very different, harder world than we have been, but also like hearing your story, and being able to relate to like being pushed to the margins of your friend group, and all of a sudden people aren't really talking to you. Mm-hmm. I think if you weren't comforted properly, that's probably a big deal in how this manifests for you.
Well, that goes into the we're trained to deny their own needs.
Right. That's,
if you're not a solution, well, then I'm not going to come to you. Like, why would you? Why would you go to this person if they're not going to help you? And if you think about it, what does that mean to be trained to deny your own needs? So you go to a parent and you say, hey, I'm really upset. I had a terrible day, whatever else. And if they say to you, you know what? Do you realize how lucky you are to have it the way you have it? That there are kids in other cities and other countries who don't have half of what you have. Others have it worse than you. Oh, well then.
Right.
That's a good example.
right.
Yeah. Then you don't matter.
Right.
My needs don't matter because others have it worse. Or my needs don't matter because my parents are doing the best they can. Or my needs don't matter because they can't provide more. Okay, well, that's the facts and the logic of the reason. That do other people have it worse? Yeah. Are your parents doing the best they can? No, because no parent ever does, and I hate that phrase. But are they limited in their ability to do things for you? Sure. You still didn't get what you needed.
Right.
So then over time, that floor and the ceiling become very small,
Well, imagine that same household. Something great happens. And the minute you go, oh, I got an A on my test today. A lot of kids get straight A's.
Yeah.
You're like, all right.
Yeah.
Gonna round that one off a little bit. Just keep it a little closer to the vest.
It kind of forces you into becoming if the low is 1 and the high is 10, I'm just going to kind of live somewhere at a 5.
My
no
mother
matter
said
what
to
happens.
me, honey, I don't want you to get all A's. I want you to get B's. She said, because A's, you worry too much and C's aren't good enough. Just get B's. Now, if you look at my siblings above me, some got A's, some got C's and D's. So she was like, I'm tired of both extremes. I just want something down the middle.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what you're saying. To cope with pain, minimizers shut down and act as if nothing is wrong. They're fine. And they may have become self-reliant or self-sufficient, which is another example of like, what's wrong with being self-sufficient? No, there's nothing wrong with that. But if it's out of this and it has rendered you emotionally neutered, with all due respect to minimizers, then it's a bad thing. Just like somebody who is a magnifier, and so therefore they get everything done and they're hyper and they're everything else. What's wrong with being productive? Well, because you're chasing the fear of failure all the time. May have seen this pattern modeled by others important to them. So same thing. Your dad loses his job and he goes, whatever.
Right.
Well,
it's a giant defense mechanism. It becomes, where, again, you don't want to stick your head over the proverbial ridge to get shut off. So it's just easier to say, you know what, I'm just going to hunker down.
Just going to lay low here.
Hunker down here. Let this one ride over my back. Interesting.
I think it's the people. This I don't even think this necessarily applies, but like I am amazed at people who can easily fail, and that's okay, or can be easily attacked. Like, I'm going to take this podcast in a weird direction, but on another podcast, Paige Pierce slammed Brody Smith and just said that he's a fraud. He doesn't even watch female disc golf, and he's only into the drama. And so all day today has been in disc golf Twitter, this big uproar about it. And Brody is so hilarious because he's just like, well, that's interesting because, and he just gives receipts and he'll play clips. And he's like, I would love one example of where I've started drama. And people are like, wow, you talk about the disc golf trophies. He's like, I'm not sure you understand what gossip and drama is.
Right.
But he's like, so just matter of fact. And I would just be like, I can't believe she thinks that about me. And he's just like, no, that's not how I feel. Here's why. Bing, bang, boom. And so.
So would he be minimizing?
No, he's actually completely detached. No, I guess my point was just that, like, you know, you don't want to stick your head out. You know, my point is, I love people that are like, nope, I'm putting myself out there. You know, he's the opposite of that. He puts himself out there. He doesn't care. Like, whereas the minimizer has been like, ooh, I don't know if I'm safe expressing emotion, so I choose not to.
Right.
Here is the truth. Some of life's events are major happenings,
That is true.
and they are worth a significant emotional and or behavioral response. That is true.
That is very
I don't think
true.
anybody here is going to deny that.
Right.
Jesus came to give abundant life. John 10:10, right, Brian? It's one of your favorite verses.
Thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come that you may have life and have it abundantly.
Those are both extremes. Jesus
Those
came
are.
that you might have fine.
Jesus came so you might be mediocre.
It's
At
not a big
best.
deal. It's not a big deal. It's fine. Jesus died. Whatever. Jesus resurrected. Cool. No, the truth is John 10:10. There is something out there trying to destroy everything about you. And there is one out there who is doing everything that he can to understand who he is and live the most abundant life he could possibly live. And I don't mean that materialistically.
Right. Those are very opposite ends of the spectrum about as far as you could get. And for you to, as a minimizer, be like, yeah, you know, Satan came and hurt me and Jesus saved me and stuff. And
It's tough. It's a hell
It's
of a
fine.
testimony.
it's fine. But I mean, that's kind of what we're saying you're doing is a minute.
What's,
Like,
yes,
I
no,
mean,
it's
and
exactly
that's
what you-
obviously a crazy extreme, but
no, but
an example.
But it's the muting of your emotions
Yeah.
is so dangerous
Yes.
because the reality of John 10:10, the reality of the gospel, the reality of a relationship with Christ is that you are a terrible sinner. And yet Jesus loved you enough to die for you, to come back from the dead and give you the opportunity to have eternal life. And you go, yeah,
That's pretty cool.
Sweet.
yeah, I guess so. You know,
Good story, bro.
Now, because what's interesting is like they're feeling that, and what
they're
I mean,
not feeling that.
well, what I mean is like they're really feeling that. They're not like I know it sounds so stupid.
They're really
They're
not feeling.
It's
I know I
not.
screwed up. I could have just.
No, it's not like a facade where they're minimizing it on the outside, but on the
right.
inside they're like really either excited or they're, you know what I mean?
They're like playing it cool, but inside
Exactly.
they're all
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
I would disagree.
Okay, because like I'm putting that as like out there as like
No, they are to the point where they're dead.
but that's what I mean. Like on the like right on the inside, they really are feeling that way. It's not.
Oh,
You get what I'm saying?
yeah, we need to use more words.
Yeah.
They really are feeling that it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
It's not that they're really feeling that it is so big of a deal.
Right.
Right. So yes, they are true. They believe this isn't a facade.
Right.
It is something they have conditioned over time that has been either conditioned into them and they have conditioned themselves subconsciously more than anything else
Yeah.
to say, hey, it's not a big deal because if I don't care a lot, then I can't be disappointed. And if I don't get too excited, I can't be disappointed.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm just going to play it right down the middle.
Well, and here's a minimizing mindset for the Bible quote we just talked about. Like, yes, you can believe that you know Jesus died for your sins to live life abundantly,
Good.
but he did that for everybody. So like, that doesn't make me
Special.
somehow special or singled out compared to everybody. You know what
But
I'm saying?
if you were the
Like,
only one on earth, he would have still done it for you.
Still not in the scriptures.
It's not.
I like that though.
But see, I was doing the Christian thing. Yeah, it sounds good.
Can't
But,
find it.
Yeah.
No, but I see your point. What that is I think that is more reeking of self-condemnation.
Yeah.
That's just saying, because you're still saying it's a big deal, but it's a big deal for everybody, so I'm not special.
Right.
But the point is, it's a big deal. So if you're saying it is a big deal,
Okay.
that's not minimizing.
You're recognizing the emotional impact.
yeah,
and
not more than emotional, but
Right.
Where, yeah, because I feel like the more and more I
Eternal.
think about it, it's for me, it's self condemnation. Like I'm not a minimizer
right.
by definition,
No, you know when something's a big deal.
but I feel like I kind of outwardly put a minimizer's vibe in a way of like I have self-condemnation, so I don't want to make a big deal about me, even when something good happens, and it's tied with acceptance.
That's exactly where I was hoping you were going to go.
Where I don't want to upset anybody because I got this win, or I don't want to like
burden anybody because I got this loss.
Right. Yeah. So like
I'm not worthy of exciting or burdening anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's self-condemnation with a cloak, with the anchor of acceptance.
Yeah.
Need for acceptance, that is.
And it looks like minimizing, but it's not.
Wow. We are, if you're into this stuff, man, that's a great podcast. If you are not, all the minimizers out there who are not bought in are all like, yep, I don't know why you listen to this crap. This is absolute garbage. I'll tell you what's not minimum, how much I hate this podcast right now. It's exactly what they're saying. The last truth is that pain needs to be mourned and comforted.
Pain needs to be mourned and comforted.
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yes.
And wins need to be celebrated. I mean, I think that's relatively easy.
It's true.
It's true. I haven't thought about those ladies in a long time. Only Eric knows who those ladies are. If you look up on YouTube sometime, just look up It's True.
Oh, yeah.
Horse.
It's true.
Psychics.
I don't know. They were weird.
They were out there, man.
They were out there.
So what are the effects on a relationship? Well, let me tell you. Minimizers tend to verbalize few emotions, and they expect the same from others around them. I dare say require. Often leaving spouses lonely, frustrated, and feeling hurt, particularly during tragic events when little or no feeling is demonstrated. I mean, imagine.
That makes sense.
Well, you're married to, or you're in a relationship with, or your boss is, or whatever, in relationship with a minimizer, and you seek comfort.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Because they don't know they've numbed the need for comfort in their life. So how can you expect them to return that to you?
It says in the Bible that we comfort others with the comfort we have first received. You know where it says that? In the Bible. But it's true. And therefore, if you have never received comfort, either it wasn't offered to you or you have been conditioned to not want it, well, you can't give it.
No.
You can't give it.
Yeah.
And so now imagine a major life circumstance happens, whether it's a death, a huge diagnosis, and you're looking for comfort. And the minimizer's like, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine. You're
An
good.
asteroid fell on Grandma's house. It's not that big of a deal.
She's in heaven now.
Yeah.
She's fine.
Yeah,
Put it on her
she's fine.
tombstone.
The world
But
goes on. You know what I'm saying?
Well, can you talk a little bit more about how facts, logic, and reason? You said minimizers use facts,
yeah.
logic, and reason.
Yeah.
Hey, look, your grandmother lived.
Am I getting ahead of things?
No, this is fine. No, it's just it's
fine.
It gives it's a fine time.
It's a
That's what I
fine
meant by
time.
No, I mean, because they have to explain away why it happened so that it doesn't hurt as much as it does. Look, the reason why you're upset that you're in traffic is there was a big accident. And so the traffic backed up, and that's why you're there.
Right. It's not everybody gets in traffic.
you know,
it's not a big deal.
Exactly. So, you just use that facts, logic, reason to explain why the event happened so you don't have to deal with how it made you feel when it happened.
Yeah. So it's an evasion.
It's using your
an
brain
evasion
instead of your
technique.
heart.
Yeah.
And it's also, that's more of also a control thing. If I understand why this happened, then I don't have to be so emotional about it.
Is it true? Yes.
Right.
But you're not doing
Is it
anything.
comforting? Is it
Oh,
properly
gosh, no.
comforting? No. Right.
No.
They deny that anything troubles them, and when pressed to communicate, they give facts, opinion, or logical explanation rather than vulnerably sharing their needs and feelings. So they're just an emotional black hole.
It really is amazing to me
With all due respect.
how many people are afraid of emotions. Like when you start getting into emotional territory, the reaction of some people that I've witnessed is it's fear. It's like, whoa, like I don't want to get into talking about emotions. So it really is amazing how that is an evasion technique, because you don't want to address, that asteroid fell on Grandma's house. Yeah, we live in a world where things like that happen, and it is an evasion from, when I really think about how much I miss Grandma, that goes into a vulnerable place. And if I start to feel vulnerable, that means I need to I need to find some kind of comfort, and that's never happened to me, so that I'm just going to stay away from that. Right? That's kind of the loop.
Yeah, and I don't want to go down a huge tangent here, but I think this kind of relates. But
Palestine.
What we talked before about, a generation going through really, really tough times.
Yeah.
And small thing or things getting minimized, and I feel like there's been a big shift in like the newer generations of emotions are important. And
Maybe too important.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, it's kind of shifting in the wrong direction, in the right direction, but in the wrong way of like, oh, self-care. It's all about you.
Going no contact to protect yourself.
Yeah, like it's going in a way that's not embracing the emotions. Like you're just trying to fulfill something in your life, but you're not really like you're more aware of your emotions, but you're not really taking care of them in the way that you should be. Or you're not getting the comfort that you should be properly. You're just trying to go after that next thing to get that comfort. You're trying to steal that comfort from somewhere. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
And or attention and or whatever else. If you're magnifying or overly focusing on emotions.
Right.
So, I mean, it's what we talked about earlier. Magnifiers, is everything a really big deal? No. Minimizers. Are some things a big deal? Yes. I say that Satan lies in the subtleties. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to come up to you and be like, you should deny all your emotions. All right, sweet deal. No. But should you make a big deal about every emotion and take it to the extreme? No. There's a little subtle balance that we're supposed to have, and the enemy likes to, take you to extremes and use it to ruin relationships. Ruining the relationships. Hey, how do you overcome this? You can't. No, I'm just kidding.
It's hopeless.
And make sure
Thanks
I
for
didn't
listening.
change, Eric.
I
on the
changed it in the
show notes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Comfort
Okay, cool.
for pain of unmet needs may be needed before you're able to recognize that it is unhealthy to not show emotion. So somehow there's got to be some comfort that breaks through. Mm-hmm. Number two.
How would a person start? And I know we've talked about this before. Person that has grown up has been shaped into evading these emotions because they've not been comforted properly. Say that person is hearing this and says, you know what? That does sound like a great place to start. I recognize that I'm this kind of person and I do this to other people. I recognize that I haven't been comforted very well or allowed myself to. How do I start that? What would be the first thing?
It's one of those things where you've got to be good at comforting because it's joining somebody in their emotions. Well, at this level, they don't have much emotions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing that's
so,
tough.
You just join them. So if they go, yeah, it has a rough day, and meanwhile they lost their job and they crashed their car, you got to come alongside them and go, yeah, that sucks. Yeah. All right.
But that's somebody else doing that for
so
somebody
if you're
else.
the minimizer,
yep.
Well, you begin to express and ask yourself, how do I feel? How do I really feel?
Yeah, and that could be scary. So
Right.
break through that.
And then when somebody comforts you, go, oh, did that feel good? Oh, okay. How did that feel? But I'll say this, if a minimizer is willing to do that, they're already way ahead of the game.
Nice.
Yeah.
Number two, productive comfort in the present time is essential for the hopes of the comfort of past hurts. So you got to work your way back.
Say that one more time. Productive comfort.
In the present time. So in other words, oh, you wrecked your car. Man, that's going to be a hassle. I am so sorry. That just drives me crazy.
That's productive comfort in the
That's
present
got to
time.
happen before you can say, wow, your dad didn't love you. Like you lead with your dad didn't love you. And they're like, all right, that's why we're not doing this.
It's a little out of order. Right?
It is also important to rejoice in present time before even hoping to comfort. So back to your point, celebrate things. Hey, I guess I had a good day today. And let somebody join you in that before you say, had a bad day today. It's not a big deal, but is it a big deal? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So rejoice. It's easier to rejoice than it is to comfort. So lead with rejoicing. And again, this is, whether you're married to the minimizer, if you're married to the person, I would certainly rejoice more, and get them going in that way if they're unwilling. And then get into comfort a little bit. Reassurance that showing emotions is not the same as losing control. Very well may be needed to be given by a partner. So you're married to a minimizer. Hey, it's okay that you're sad. I can still see that you're in control. You've got this, but it does suck. You're still the man.
Encourage
so
them.
you're keeping them in their safe place while also giving them some
Validity.
What you're doing is you're I don't want to say a bait and switch, but it's like with
you're attaching.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, with the sandbag and the gold.
Because what's the
thing,
key is the control. I minimize, so I'm in control.
Right.
But if the partner, the spouse, the whoever says to them, you're still in control because you're smart, because you're resilient, because you're all these things, though it does suck. They're maintaining the control, but the control is now in their attributes and their assets and what they have, not in, I'm just going to shut down. That I think is sneaky brilliant. And I think that's really where a spouse to an unwilling spouse or a friend to an unwilling minimizing friend, you can do some good work.
Yeah.
That really resonates with me because as we've gone along, I've had the thoughts of like, well, but isn't it a good thing to like to not
Keep a
have
level
to-
head.
Yes, exactly. Thoughts like that creep into my head. That it's good to not overreact to everything or to like, keep a level head's a good way to put it.
Again, to be dead inside and
Right.
express that outwardly,
Right.
no. And lastly, the minimizer should work to verbalize feelings and trust them. Yeah, that'd be nice. Along with trusting their partner to comfort them. I mean, that's the goal. And then the only example we have today is, replace, that happens to everybody, I'll get over it. I mean, that's a minimizing phrase.
Yeah.
And rather than saying that, they should say, it's so funny. This is from the training. As I feel my pain, grieve the hurt, and receive comfort from God and others, I will get over it.
Yeah.
All right. I don't encourage you to talk like that.
Right.
I mean, hit those points, but I wouldn't say it like that because
But that's you.
Your
you're
spouse is
saying
gonna
it to
leave you 'cause
yourself,
you're
though,
weird,
right?
you know?
Oh yeah.
no, but you say, okay, this does suck, but you know what? Comfort matters. And God's going to use that. And I'm going to get past this.
Yeah.
Or, hey, this was awesome and I deserve it. And it's not always going to be there, but it's good right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little more, engage more with your emotions is what I would say.
Yeah.
I'm going to be taking these show notes to Atlanta. I really am. Like
them
I
in-
know I'm not saying every point sounds like me, but a lot of it.
I thought you meant because you want to present, and I was like, I don't know that I'm comfortable with that, Chris. I mean,
No, just as like notes. You know what I mean? Like things to think about, things to bring up.
It just resonated with you.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, it's like day one, they're teaching the emotional cup, and they're teaching because you got the relational needs. They sent you the relational needs questionnaire and stuff like that, and you're like, all right, let me stop you right there. I think in regards to being a minimizer or in the nothing's wrong marital game, I was thinking, don't you agree, Jim? That they're like, oh gosh.
One of those people.
I'm sure they do not run into those people. That's the other part of it that I'm so excited. You can't disappoint me. That's all I'm saying is you have to go, and they got to be like, who taught you? That's incredible. Chris, would you want to come up and lead the session? I mean, I've never seen somebody so prepared.
Why did you pay to come here?
We should be paying you.
Is it too late to back out?
Nah, it's gonna be
No,
awesome.
it'll be great.
Yeah.
Wait, do they know anything or no?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Do they know that you do a podcast based on emotional needs that talks about the Center for Relational Care?
I've mentioned you.
And they went, no idea who you're talking about. Keep going.
Well, I don't mean I name dropped. I just mentioned that. Oh, I have a pastor and friend who, has taught me a lot. Da, 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 da. Did I mention? And this was on
Okay,
a
that's
phone
enough.
call. Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned.
All I'm saying is you got to go in low and slow. You just
right.
got to go in and just be like, so wait.
You gotta pretend. So support.
I don't even know what a cup is. What is a cup? Not even an emotional cup.
Don't we pour things out of a cup?
cup that
What
I
are we even
There's
talking?
10 emotional needs?
And then you go, I mean, doesn't it seem like the only way that we can really deal with our hurts is if somebody joins us?
Just start dropping.
I'm thinking Romans
Aces.
12:15 comes to mind. I don't know.
Oh,
it's the only way
man.
that
Seems
could really
weird,
work.
but-
I mean,
That's like lunchtime in room. I wonder if there's anything.
I ate lunch at 12:15. Yeah. Oh man.
that's where you got to go.
That's good. That's good.
And that's
I
how
forgot to, I want to give you some
Oh,
cards, business cards for you. That's fine.
All right. And that's how we're going to wrap up episode 247. Join us next Wednesday.
This was a big deal.
This was a big deal.
This was
Yeah.
a big deal. It was a great episode.
Big deal, episode 247. Good job. Join us next Wednesday live at 8:30ish for episode 248. Between now and then, please give us a like or follow on social media and visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com. While there, take that relational needs questionnaire. Thanks for joining us at the table for Lunchtime in Rome.
See you next week.
Arrivederci.
Do you know we play drops after this? Bye.